called by God. That's the key concept for this second session as we continue to work in the Living into the Vision study. For a little while, I'd like us to think about Isaiah and Isaiah's day in which he lived. It was a terrible time, really, for the people of God. They had fallen to the hands of the Babylonians. Leadership, families were broken, taken apart from one another, husbands and wives, children separated, grandchildren separated, and they were taken off into different parts of the known Babylonian world. The idea was if you kept the leaders and the thinkers and the religious people apart, that they would be more faithful to the Babylonian way. Well, a couple of generations really had passed, and hope for a quick return to Jerusalem was not something that folks anticipated anymore. And there was a lot of discouragement. A lot of the tradition and the history was beginning to be lost as generation upon generation came. The story of God's covenant with the people was beginning to diminish, and quite frankly, the gods of Babylon were becoming the gods of many of the people of Israel. And so there was not, as I said, a lot of hope in the future until one man by the name of Isaiah began to speak on behalf of God, initiating a new covenant, announcing a new covenant, perhaps is even a better way of saying it. A new covenant in which God was about to do a new thing, was about to reach out into the world and bring back to Jerusalem those who had been sent to the north and the east and the south and the west. They were coming home, a kind of homecoming. And while it wasn't an immediate happening, there was hope offered to the people. And indeed, that hope turned into reality as the Jewish community did return, for the most part, to Jerusalem. The real issue for us, or the connecting piece for us, is we're called to be faithful to God's way in a land that in many ways is becoming almost as foreign as the world in which Isaiah lived. There are traditions and many things in our culture that would divide us and take us away from life together in covenant community. And it's become a challenge for all of us, hasn't it, into how do we live into this world and still be faithful to God. And so this week, as we rethink church and rethink conference, the real question for us is, how do we reach out into the community to welcome back those who have parted ways with the church, for those who have yet to hear the message of the church? And how is it that we can be effective in helping people to understand that all of us are called by God into this special relationship we call the Christian faith?